to you all. It's now time to begin our regular board meeting for our Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation. I may have a roll call, please.
Beverly Raymond, Kayla Jacobs, here. Jerry LaBeouf, Bill Anderson,
Here.
Morris Albright, Ingrid Holmes, Melvin Gedwin. You have a quorum, President.
Thank you. Jacob, do you mind doing the invocation?
Yes, ma'am. God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for waking us up this morning and granting us new mercies, Lord. We pray that the proceedings of this meeting will be done decently and in order. And we also pray that we will keep in the forefront of mind our purpose for being here, which is serving your people here in Port Arthur, Texas. We pray for everyone's continued safety and wellness. We ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we all have a copy of our minutes for December the 2nd regular board meeting. Have a motion to accept the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second to accept our minutes. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We now move to communications. Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President, and I add my Happy New Year to the board. First up is Golden Triangle Days. Just a reminder that it is fast arriving. You have in your communications tab updated information in terms of itinerary, legislative agenda, hotel information, so forth and so on. So if in fact you plan to attend, and if you have not had an opportunity to complete your delegate form, would ask that you do so as quickly as possible so we can make sure that you're accounted for, and most importantly, or just as importantly, that you are able to get into the hotel block before the rooms are taken. So, any questions on Golden Triangle Days? And next under your communications tab is the upcoming economic forecast luncheon for the Southeast Texas Regional Foundation. Their annual meeting always coincides with the economic forecast luncheon. You have background information in your board book on that particular event. We are a sponsor and do have a table reserved. There are a few board members that were able to attend last year, so some of you are familiar with what takes place. Most importantly, the economic forecast will be given by an expert in this area as it relates to the Golden Triangle region. And with that, Mr. President, that completes communications.
Okay, next on our agenda is the CEO's report.
Thank you again, Mr. President. Just a couple of items. In your packet is the November financial report. We hope to have December for you just as soon as we in the city of Port Arthur are able to close out everything for the calendar year. We are doing okay and on track in the first quarter that just completed on December 31st for this year. Regrettably, our financial officer had to attend to some family matters tonight, so if you happen to have any questions, I will take note of those and then distribute the answers in email right away as soon as I can get with her. But like I say, your December report will be forthcoming. And then Also in your packet under my report is just some background on travel that is proposed for February and March. Golden Triangle Days we just talked about on March 3rd and 4th. Preceding it is the Texas Economic Development Council's legislative conference, just a few days ahead of Golden Triangle Days. So that information is in that particular section, and it's also replicated under non-consent when you take up that matter. With that, Mr. President, that concludes my report.
Any questions? Thank you, Mr. Stokes, for your report. We'll now move to unfinished business. First item is to review and discuss the proposed revised PA EDC Code of Ethics.
Mr. President, I will step in on this one in lieu of Attorney Zach and his folks not being able to attend tonight. Provided you a set of background information on what has been done by them on the Code of Ethics. Basically, they, as you all had asked back at your October meeting, where it was decided that the City of Port Arthur's Code of Ethics was not completely relevant to this particular corporation. Specifically, Director Raymond pointed that out and was quite adamant that, hey, you need to have something that is relevant to the Port Arthur Economic Development Corporation. So it was decided to not adopt the City of Port Arthur's Code of Ethics, but to take that as a starting point and then have Attorney Zach and his folks go through and basically revise and make relevant to the corporation. And so that is the result of that body of work is what is in your book and packet tonight. What is requested by the legal team is that you go through what has been redlined and put together. You also have the original from the City of Port Arthur for comparison purposes. And if you have any feedback, any questions, want anything changed, please provide that to President Anderson, as well as Attorney Zach. And the goal is to come with a completed, updated version for your next meeting that you can then take up for vote.
Yes, was the updated one put in our email packet? Because I don't remember seeing it.
It was, yes.
Okay, I'll go back and look.
And it's in your book as well, sir.
The question I have regarding the update is, if there's any way possible we can include, again, going back, I know I'm sounding like a echo over and over again, the one that we had in April 2022. Can we include that along with the City of Port Arthur and compare it to the updated one? Because this seems so extensive, and I just feel like we can kind of, but again, I'm not going to go through all that. We just, we can include that so the board members can see the old one, the one from City of Port Arthur, along with the update. That is my request. Thank you.
We'll certainly pass it on. Yes, ma'am.
Other questions? All right, agenda item number 2 on the unfinished business. Discussion and possible action on the monitor and buzzer system for the Port Arthur Credit Union. I do know that we made a request as a board to have our attorney and them to begin to discuss how they would move forward with that. Ms. Raymond requested to be put back on the agenda.
Well, I would like to hear the report regarding the situation. The last thing we decided that y'all was going to get together with the attorney along the person of interest and come up with a solution. Do y'all have a report?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you, Director Raymond. We endeavored to have that meeting and pull that together. We ran into a little snafu in that once we involved the executives up the food chain, To make it very simple, they had no idea what we were talking about. And that then greatly delayed things. And to this, as we speak now, as we sit here now, that meeting has not occurred because the executives in charge of the credit union, along with their board, are still trying to figure out where the request came from. It did not come from them. We're still trying to figure that out, but we on our side stand ready to have the meetings, have the conversations, and proceed from there. I'm going to ask Deputy Mueller to fill in because she's been most active involved in this particular situation as the shepherd of the press building.
Sure. So just to give you all an update, we did reach out to our attorneys and had a quick discussion with the attorney regarding the matter and what the concerns are. The attorneys are aware of what the ask is, as well as what our concerns will be, and we are ready to sit down with the credit union. When it was reached out to the credit union to set this meeting, they did express their confusion as they said that they were not aware of this request. So I asked if they were still wanting to proceed with this. They expressed that they would like to proceed with it, but they have not given me a date to sit down with the attorney. So we have reached out. I would ask the board to go ahead and remove this, and once they express their request to move forward, then we'll do that on our end internally.
The reason we're not, I understand your request, but we need to still look at security at the press building. We still need to have both those doors covered in some way, a buzzer or a monitoring system. I'm still concerned with the security at that building. Now, I don't know communication between the employees and the stakeholders, but it was several people that had mentioned to other board members regarding the situation. So I'm just not going to make up anything unless it was brought to me. And other board members, along with tenants of this building, that the concern for the credit union. So again, I don't know where the communication dropped at, but it is a concern, and we definitely need to look into it, not just for the lawyer's part, but the EDC part as well, regarding security of that building. And we need to see, I don't know what, I know we got like 16 cameras here. I was looking back, the eye camera that we approved on last year, exactly what is the type of system do we have at the press building?
So, Ms. Raymond, we do have actually more than 20 cameras covering that building. I don't believe the issue is security. The building is well secured. I think that what the buzzer was hoping to accomplish for the credit union was right now that the door that is adjacent to them is locked as a security measure. And right now they are having to, as people come up to that door and knock on their window, instead of redirecting them to the front door as they should, they are getting up to open the door for their patrons or whoever knocks at that window. That is the security concern that we have. So there, what was brought to our attention was that they had requested a buzzer so that they can let people in that door, not so much as a security measure, but so that they don't have to get up from their desks to walk around and open the door. That is what was being considered.
Okay, the reason we brought up security was these were some of the things that they mentioned at the last meeting, because they feel like they get a buzzer, anybody and everybody can come through the building. So when it was brought up, then we decided, well, we need to look at security as well, because you mentioned at the last meeting that we had a monitor inside the building, but not outside. So we are camera. So we decided to bring that into it because of the questions that were asked at the last meeting. So of course, no, it was not about the security, but after asking questions regarding the buzzer, we brought in the monitor and to extend the security to make sure, because I know I have been in that building and nobody's at the desk. They're not security person there. So again, I don't want to have a one-on-one conversation with you regarding the situation, but we need to continue to investigate this issue.
Sure, we can take additional measures double up on our security if needed. We do have a camera that is facing that door on the outside, but nothing on the inside, which is why we had suggested possibly a security officer be put there by the credit union if they did wish to open the door, which they moved away from that option, and which is now we're looking at a buzzer.
Any other questions concerning this particular item? So, with the Port Arthur Credit Union being in limbo about it, we're really gonna have to just wait until they're ready to discuss it. We can't force them to come to the table and discuss the buzzer if it's coming from the board and their executives. So, just the pleasure of the board, how do y'all want to handle this agenda item? My suggestion would be to remove it.
Okay. Well, again, it's a communication issue with the employees and whoever y'all talk to, if y'all talk to anybody. I'm not trying to be. But anyway, I think that the investigation should be looked into either by the president or the CEO, because they are tenants of this building, into what's going on. It needs to be investigated. So I do not want to remove this item until it's investigated.
What do you mean investigated?
Because regarding where it came from, the employees saying it, the employees are saying that they want a buzzer. And y'all saying that whoever y'all spoke to don't know nothing about it. So the reason I'm bringing it up, because I do not want to move until it's investigated of what occurred regarding the situation.
So I'm not saying to get rid of the discussion, but there's nothing we can do. We just keep putting it back on the agenda, and they haven't had the meeting. That's really just a waste. After they have the meeting, it can be put back on the agenda because that makes more sense. Then we can have something to talk about. So unless, Ms. Mueller, correct me if I'm wrong, my understanding was we know that the information was brought from the employee side. When you talk to the board and the executive, they didn't know. But they did not say that they didn't want to have the discussion. The issue is they have not set a time for the discussion. Is that correct?
Correct. If the discussion came to you all through the employees, they would have to go through their proper channels to express their concerns internally with their executives. We have reached out to the executives who are in the lease with us, and they've expressed that they would like to look at it further, but they just haven't given a date to sit down.
Okay. So instead of removing it, can we table it until we have the discussion?
Same thing.
Okay. I just like that.
Semantics.
I like that word.
Just want to make one comment. I think we're talking about two issues. I think there's an issue of wanting them to have convenience, and there's an issue regarding actual security if that door is opened or whatever, even though the front door is open in that race. So I think those are two separate matters, whether it's secure or whether it's convenient for the employees. And I think that's what Ms. Raymond was
So I can understand about probably discussion regarding the buzzer, but we still need to look into security of those particular doors.
So does security come into play when the door begins to be utilized? Or
I would think
we're
when-
talking about,
I really think that there's a security issue now. I mean, we didn't talk about it before, but if you're going to have an open door to the outside, whether it's the side door or whatever door, if you're not, if you don't have a one person anyway, or anybody sitting at the front door all the time.
At this moment, it's vacant, so there is not a person sitting at the front door, but I do cover the front door since my office faces it. But on normal circumstances, we do have a reception desk there for somebody to cover that front door.
I don't know, I just think it's a security issue. I don't know that it matters whether it's the front door, the side door, or both doors being open. I think it's a security issue that you have a credit union in that building, and we really have no outside monitoring for that.
so
That's my only comment.
so with that, to me, that's a different agenda.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, completely. So let's revisit that toward the end of the meeting, and we can put an agenda item about security on our next board meeting. But as for this one, we're going to use that word that you like to use, and we're going to table it. Okay, so we'll table agenda item number 2. Do I need to vote on that? Y'all vote on it anyway. Y'all want to table it? Table it? All in favor? All right, opposed? All right, now moving on to our consent agenda items. We have two of them. May I have a motion to approve both of those items? Or does anybody want to discuss any of them?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve our consent agenda items. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, non-consent agenda item number 1. Presentation, discussion, and possible action to approve a professional service agreement with GrantWorks, Inc. for grant research, application submission, and administrative services to secure funding for the expansion and development of PAEDC's business park.
You
Someone
need a motion to bring it to the floor?
can I have a motion?
So moved.
Just before you start, Mrs. Palmer, really quickly, for especially those of you who've been on the board as long as I've been here, it's been near and dear to my heart to bring on a way where we can go after grants, especially for the development and continued placement of infrastructure into our business parks. So this has been a long time coming. Happy to be able to bring this information to your attention. With that, I will turn it over to Mrs. Palmer.
Okay, well, we're actually going to go to the screen. We have our GrantWorks team, or tentative team. We have Naja Corbett, Julie Norman, and Ryan Ulrich. We also have present with us Michelle Bobo. She is our regional rep. But we've got Julie, who is going to be presenting for us, and then afterward, just so everybody knows, audio-wise, I think it's a little bit difficult for them to hear your questions, so I'm going to echo your questions since we're using the laptop speaker or audio, okay? All right, Julie, we are ready for you.
Wonderful, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for Michelle at TEDC, the TEDC conference in Dallas in October, and I believe we have a copy of our statement of qualifications. But I'd like to start with just an introduction. I am the Vice President of Economic Development at GrantWorks, and I have been a certified economic developer since 2001. Prior to joining GrantWorks, I spent nearly 30 years as a senior level two of our amazing project managers in the economic development unit at GrantWorks who bring extensive experience from several states. And then, of course, Michelle Bobo is our client services manager for this area of the state. She is your boots on the ground that can connect you to the myriad of services that GrantWorks offers beyond economic development.
Julie, can you give us just one moment?
Yes.
I think
With the microphone.
I apologize, Julie, we've got a bad echo on our side.
Not a problem.
We're working with a little bit of new tech as of yesterday.
Gotcha.
Okay, Julie, can you just say hi?
Hello, can you hear me better?
All right, we may have to have you speak up just a little bit, Julie.
Okay. I'll do my best. Would you like me to continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. First, just some basic information about our company. We are the only full service national grants management firm in the U.S. We have nearly 400 people across 20 plus states, 90 offices, mostly working remotely, except for a core group in Austin, which is where we're headquartered. We've been in business since 1979, and in that time, we have secured over $10 billion in federal grant funding, 5,000 plus grants serving over 600 communities. In the economic development unit of GrantWorks, we have a proven track record securing 95% of our grant applications are awarded. And when you look nationally, only about 15 to 20% of federal grant applications across the country are actually funded. And I'll explain some of the reasons why we have such a high success rate in just a few minutes. GrantWorks is organized by areas of focus and activity. So we have a department that does housing, one that does planning and research, another for broadband. We have an environmental team, labor compliance team, and of course, the economic development unit where Nasia, Ryan, and others and myself are a part. This year, GrantWorks was contracted by the Appalachian Regional Commission to develop and deliver a robust 9-week training course on how to identify, secure, and manage federal grants. And we trained over 180 people among 90 local governments across 13 states as part of the Ready Appalachia initiative. So we are viewed as the experts by many. EDA, the Economic Development Administration, that is our bread and butter in the Economic Development Unit. But we are able to apply for any type of grant that is intended to produce economic development outcomes. And the list you see on your screen are some of the federal agencies that have the most grant programs. And I will tell you that right now there are over 2,300 federal grants open right now. So it's a very daunting task just to find the grant that fits your project. Some key things to keep in mind is knowing the eligibility requirements of these various grants and whether they are formula funded or entitlement programs or competitive grants. And also don't assume that the name of the federal agency defines the type of grants they're offering. Pardon me. This group knows better than anyone that economic development does not just happen magically or by osmosis. You have to prepare your community, make it conducive to economic development. You might need the right infrastructure in place for businesses in your community, your business park. You may need to widen a road, extend a water line, make improvements to a wastewater system. You may need to create a facility for workforce training or upgrade technologies or build community assets that support exporting. All of that takes money. And in order for communities to create wealth through private sector investment and the creation of jobs, economic development, we have to spend money first in a lot of cases. So it takes money to make money, and that's where we come in. Thankfully, there's more money at the federal level than ever before, and our goal is to help you get your hands on it. Unlike other firms, we don't engage with clients simply because they want to hire us. I mentioned earlier that we have a 95% success rate in the economic development unit, and I want that number to go higher. So we pride ourselves on due diligence that gives us an extremely high confidence level of a grant application being awarded before we even engage with a client. We're going to ask key questions to vet projects, like, do you have 30% of the project design completed, or do you have an engineer that can get that work done? Do you have the federal matching dollars available? On the screen, it says 50%. That's typically what EDA requires, but until just recently, that was the case. But EDA has been reauthorized for the first time in 20 years, and that local match requirement is reduced to 40%. We're going to want to know that you have a company or a group of companies that are willing to commit to job creation or retention as a result of this project. A lot of the federal agencies want to know if you have any particular situations that causes distress in your community, like maybe your poverty rate or unemployment rate is higher than that of the state. Maybe you've had a disaster, or you are at risk of losing private sector jobs. So we take a look at that very closely because it's going to make your application stronger. And finally, site control. Do you own the property that this project is going to take place on, or do you have leasehold agreements, right-of-ways, and so forth? Also, every federal agency has got their priorities. They have a list of priorities, and that may change with the new administration next week. But at GrantWorks, it's our job to keep up with all the latest developments in federal funding. Within our unit at GrantWorks, we have two primary functions. We do a lot of things. We do research and technical assistance and so forth, but two primary functions that we're involved with is developing a grant application, which is the easy part, and then grant administration, the hard part. An application can be put together by, well, pretty much anybody in a matter of weeks, and if you use just anybody, your chances of getting that application funded, as I said earlier, is between 15 and 20%. But we charge a nominal fee, typically between $5,000 and $10,000, depending on the complexity of the project and whether it's construction or not. And your chances of getting the grant funded is over 90%, because we are going to make sure we've checked all the boxes, making sure that your project is in alignment with the SEDS. We've done the environmental review, we've got your preliminary engineering review done, and so forth. The hard part comes with grant administration. And this is where you don't want to fall short throughout the life of the grant, because if you do, it could affect your chances of getting any future funding. Our clients in the economic development unit that we serve are typically small to mid-size cities, counties, and EDOs with populations that they serve ranging from 10,000 to 70,000. And unlike the big cities, they don't have the capacity to do grant administration. Not enough staff, not enough time, not enough internal resources to manage the complexities of federal grants. And many times, these are the same communities that need that federal assistance more than anyone. So that's where GrantWorks comes in. It's all we do, day in, day out. And our fee for grant administration is typically between 6 and 8% of the total project cost. And it's built into the grant budget. They allow for you to include the costs of grant administration. So there's no additional out-of-pocket costs to our clients. That fee covers everything for the life of the grant, which is typically 3 to 5 years. All the monthly progress reports, financial reporting, the hundreds of pages of forms and compliance documents and so forth. We also have in-house services that most grant management firms do not have. Procurement, for example, when it's time to procure an architect, engineer, a contractor, we'll handle that for you. We've got environmental review team, a labor compliance to make sure you're in check with the Davis-Bacon Act. We also have the research planning, technical assistance, and everything. And this is what sets us apart, I think, because we not only have all of these in-house services making us a full service grants management firm, but we're able to stack various grant programs. Maybe it's EDA, CDBG, FEMA, USDA, whatever. And that fosters that consistency and continuity that's really important. And we like to think of ourselves as your one-stop grants management firm. So that is the brief overview. Again, I think you have our statement of qualifications, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you have at this time.
Okay. If I read right, it's $125 an hour for research before submitting the grant.
Julie, could you hear that?
I heard something about $125 for research. That is if that's a standalone service, sir. So
Go ahead, Julie.
if we, in our discussions, for example, I know that you'd like to expand your business parks. We would not be charging an additional fee for research because that's part of developing a grant application. But sometimes we have clients that only want to do research. They want us to explore a myriad of grant programs for many different activities. If that's all we're doing, then yes, we would possibly charge a fee just for that service. But if we have had discussions and we know that you have a viable project that would be eligible for a grant, an economic development related grant, that research is included in our grant application fee.
Okay, just a hypothetical. I got a $2 million project. Is that a $5,000 or a $10,000 submission fee?
I think I heard $5,000 to $10,000 is our application fee. Is that the question?
Julie, he said if he's got a $2 million project, is that a $5,000 or a $10,000 fee?
Submission
It doesn't
fee.
matter
A
whether
submission
it's
fee.
It doesn't matter whether it's a $1 million project or a $30 million project. Our application fee is the same. The variation in that application fee between $5,000 and $10,000 is how complex the project is, and whether it's construction.
Okay.
How much are we going to be dealing with engineers? Are we doing a water line and sewer upgrades and a road? Or is it something very simple?
Okay.
Anybody else? Doesn't look like they have any more questions. Julie, thank you. Thank you, everybody, for coming online. We sure appreciate your assistance and your presentation.
Thank you so much for having us, and we hope to work with you in the future.
All right, thanks.
Bye-bye.
Opposed? Carries. Agenda item and possible action to the new date for the regular
The grant people.
Are y'all wanting to sign out, or?
Yes.
Okay, you're good to go.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh.
non-consent agenda item number 2. Discussion and possible action to select the new date for the In conflict. Have a motion, please.
So moved.
All right, it's been second with that. Already checked with, have we already checked with Mr. Zek to make sure he's available for the 10th? Stokes,
That's fine.
the attorney?
No, we don't have them right.
I threw out possible dates, which included the 10th, and I did not receive an objection, so I'm going to step out on a limb and say yes.
All right, so we're going to move our March meeting to the 10th. All in favor?
None.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3, discuss and possible consideration of a revised amended professional service contract with Retail Strategies LLC. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Mr. Stokes.
Thank you, Mr. President. Previously, the board had approved us entering into a professional agreement with Retail Strategies LLC for the implementation of the City of Port Arthur's downtown revitalization plan. Since the time that agreement went to City Council for their subsequent approval, it was recognized that some of the language that had been put into the contract needed to be modified. The attorneys for Retail Strategies provided what they felt it needed to be. That had to obviously be approved by our legal representation. So those two entities got together and settled on what language it should be. That is in your packet in terms of what was redlined and what was settled upon. Your legal representation felt that although in the grand scheme of things it was just one and a half paragraphs that was changed, he felt strongly that let's bring it back to the board for reauthorization, just to make sure that the I's were dotted and the T's were crossed. So that is what is provided to you tonight for reconsideration. Nothing has changed in terms of the scope of work, the pricing. It was all just a paragraph primarily under termination.
Questions?
Yeah, I'm just curious, from what I read, I mean, what was it before? Do you remember?
You're trying to get into the legalese, so it's probably going to be, I'll trample upon it. My understanding between talking to Attorney Zach and him translating what Retail Strategies folks wanted, there was just a line or two that they felt a little bit better about in terms of termination, which went slightly differently from the language from our standard agreements. So then that put it back into our attorney's hands, is the request that they're making, which varies from our standard, is it still acceptable? And he determined that it was, but he still wanted that agreement to be reauthorized by this body. I can certainly find what was, and upon further review, I should probably had the red line of that too. I just included the red lining of what was approved versus what they are requesting. But I should have had them kind of write a little line or two, or have Charlie write a line or two. What's the significance of this change other than your opinion that it's minor in scope?
Well, no, I mean, it seems fair. I just.
Again, trying to.
With money.
Right, absolutely, and how long we have to provide that termination. I think our standard agreement went about a couple of weeks, a little longer, and they felt that again, this is me trying to put it in non-legalese. We're not comfortable with that length. Can we tighten that up? And like I say, your legal representation did not find that that was significantly changing the agreement to where they would be uncomfortable putting it in front of you, but they did want you to have an opportunity to reauthorize it. Yes, sir.
Other questions? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, discussion and possible consideration of approving the summer youth employment program policies for 2025. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Mr. Stokes. Mr. President and directors, I am going to ask that we table this until next month. And let me just give you the specifics. Myself, Deputy Mueller, Mr. Granger, our Workforce and Community Development Manager, had conversations with legal representation in preparation for this. They did not have an opportunity to get back with us the concerns they had about the policies that you were going to be undertaking. And although the language is everything that you all asked for last month, I'm not comfortable proceeding until I have their documentation in hand, and therefore you having their documentation in hand. Long story short, it centers around us going below age 18, and as Attorney Zek explained, we now step into a different arena in terms of legalities versus post-18. I need to make sure before I put it in front of you for consideration that we've got those legalities locked down. So I would prefer that we just table it.
Okay, well, I'm fine with that, but the one thing that I'm scared of is I believe you have May 15th or April 15th? Talking about whenever the students need to have their submissions into you.
Be April 15th.
The only thing I'm worried about that, and I don't know, when does school get out? The first week of June?
May, about the middle of May.
Oh, the middle of May? So I guess it'd kick the 1st of June, but to me, that's a really tight one at a place. Don't get me wrong, I get what the legal is too, because you're gonna have an industrial side and then, yeah, you can bag groceries, but depending on what kind of equipment you can work with.
Director Albright, my only other alternative to put in front of you is to separate out the policies.
No.
We could do 18 and older.
Question I have.
I wasn't done, but that's okay. Apparently I said something that got you going. Anyway, I think you know where I was headed. We could,
No, I know where you're headed.
where therefore he could proceed with
Right,
that.
and it's fine if, I would almost, without having a plan in place, and yeah, we got to separate the 16, 17 from the 18 or 19-year-old. But I think, until we get the policy in place, I'd still like to back that date up, so you have more chance, or if you need help, to line these businesses up. And it's unfortunate, like, let's say you have a 17-year-old that wants to work in a body shop and you need to be 18 to do that, okay? Well, unfortunately, that submission's gonna get kicked, most likely, okay? But that doesn't mean that we can't have the stuff in sooner, so we have a better chance of placing. Because I don't think it's gonna be, you're talking about a month, 30 days to place how many kids?
So to that point, Mr. Albright, and I hear what you're saying, the meetings have taken place with the school districts. So the process of getting kids ready for this, the counselors are already working on that. So I know it sounds like we're behind the 8 ball because of the policy, but we know the program's gonna go forward. The school districts are already talking to the kids and working with teachers, trying to identify students to come to the program. So
Right,
that part is
but
already
right now, they
rolling
have
out.
until April 15th. I would almost like it to be April 1st. So we have 60 days to work on placing these kids. It's going to be 20 kids. We have a cosmetology person, we could have an auto body person, we could have a welder. I mean, we're talking, according to the thing, I mean, it's a bunch of different stuff that Memorial and everybody else offers, technical program.
I think what he's saying, Mr. Albright, is that they're working on it already. All they waiting on is application. They already have the program in place. They already had the meetings. I don't know why we went, I missed the under 18. I think we should keep it 18 and above because we all focus on kids to get established. Once they graduate from high school into a summer program, hopefully they be gainfully employed. But we talking about juniors who are going back to school the following year. If you're going under 18. I know some kids graduate at 17, I'm not saying that, but I think we should keep it 18 and above. If we can modify that if the board's in agreement.
Mr. Granger, just reiterate for a second what the plan was for the 17-year-olds, and you know.
Good evening, directors. So the plan in expanding it out to juniors is the fact that we understand that some seniors already have their plans after they graduate. So if I'm a senior already, typically I'm looking at the fact that I might be going to college, or if I already have the certification within welding or if within anything else, I might go ahead and take a full-time job versus taking a part-time job that's only going to last for 8 weeks. So we did talk to the attorneys, and we did look at the fact that we do have folks that will be under the age of 18. I myself graduated high school at 17, and so that wasn't a consideration going into the beginning part, but what we were looking at was looking at an opportunity to give students at least twice in front of those employees. That way it's more exposure. This also gives them an opportunity to build their resume. It gives them real world work experience.
I guess we proceed and look into the matter regarding the attorney. I like that idea. The more experience, the better.
So if, directors, if you're comfortable keeping it all as one set of overall policies and procedures, then I go back to recommending that we table it, and we'll bring it back for your February meeting.
Recommend that we table agenda item number 4. All in favor? All right, we'll table it to our March meeting, hopefully. Agenda item number, 5. Review, discussion, and possible action on the PAEDC Chief Executive Officer's travel request to attend the Texas Economic Development Council Legislative on February 25th through March 1st, and the Golden Triangle Days, Austin 2025, from March 2nd through March 4th. I need a motion, please. Any discussion? All in favor?
Hold on.
What's the discussion?
I'm curious why transportation's back on both of these. But before, we allowance.
Director Albright, I'm so sorry to interrupt you. You mind lowering your microphone? Thank you, sir.
Same conversation we brought up before. We pay him a car allowance. All right, that's not just for local driving. That covers everything, okay? And I thought we at the board agreed that we weren't going to pay that anymore.
I was not at that meeting. What, that was the consensus? Somebody?
Transportation is 178, am I correct? And that is for what?
Mileage, gas, and that can be taken off, but I do want to just make one correction. The current contract that I'm under, the car allowance only covers local travel within the Golden Triangle region. It does not cover travel outside the jurisdiction of the Golden Triangle region. If, since that a new contract is coming up, you want to change that next time around, you're certainly welcome to put that language in, but it's not in there now.
What's the language say?
As I said, the car allowance covers travel within the jurisdiction of the Golden Triangle region. It's 3-county region. It does not consider travel to Austin, San Antonio, Dallas, if I use my personal vehicle.
in favor? Opposed? Motion carried. Agenda item number 6, discussion of the PAEDC's contract with Denton, Navarro, Rodriguez, Bonera, Santi, and Zach PC. Mr. LeBeau.
Already took care of this, you can pull it off.
All right, I'm going to remove agenda item number 6. Agenda item number 7, discuss the procedures and rules for renting the press building. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
It's been moved and second, requested by Mr. LeBeau. Mr. LeBeau.
Yes, I guess I need to ask. The procedure on renting the press building. I know you rent, we had some issues or people using the press building and not paying. It was all over social media, and I was wondering what was the reasoning for that.
As far as not paying,
Oh, and you know, you have people wandering in the building, you have people eating breakfast in the building.
so
We having to clean up, and so can anybody rent that? Can I go and rent it, or anybody else?
yes, we do offer the spaces for rent. As far as the tenants that have offices in the building, they do have 24 access to the building. There are limitations as far as use of spaces. If there is an instance where there's been a misuse of space or an event that wasn't reserved ahead of time, then we do note that and notify the tenant or the user and notice of violation, basically. So those things are handled that way, but it is available for rent.
Like they did this time, like the bottom section is for rent.
We actually do not rent the lobby area. We have meeting rooms and the flex room, as well as office space that's available.
Right.
But the lobby area is not available for rent unless it is a sponsored, EDC-sponsored event.
So why was it rented this time or given to them?
Just, excuse me, just a second, don't mean to interrupt you. I'm not sure if there is an understanding of who the "they" is. You're talking, sir, about something that was on social media, not necessarily everyone has privy to that, and in the absence of legal representation, I'd like to just try and keep this clean. If we've got someone that you're specifically discussing, let's get that on the record.
No, sir. No, sir.
But let's leave with the "they" alone.
No, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the agenda item, which states what is the policy and procedures for and rules for renting the press building. We just need a clear answer on that. It's available for rent. How do you go about doing that?
There is a process that a user, whether it's a tenant or an outside user, they must give us at least 48 hours advance notice of their request. It has to be approved by management of the press building. There is a deposit that is put down, cleaning fees if necessary, and that is returned to them after the fact. If it applies, for tenants, they do have use of the building for a certain amount of hours per month before they have to start paying for the use of the meeting rooms.
The flex room, exactly how that's the same thing. It could be rented, but have to be approved by management before anyone can rent it, or is it certain groups? Like, for instance, I just celebrated my dad's 90th birthday. I called you about it, but I decided to go smaller because he was, elderly, for birthday celebrations or weddings, things of that sort.
Yes, ma'am. So the flex room does have the same policy applied to it. We do grant use of the building based on some sort of economic or community development intent. We don't allow for weddings or receptions, church services, and things of that sort.
None of that.
What's that? Sorry. There's no ma'am. No ma'am.
Questions?
Just one question. You said press building management. Who's press building management?
That would be myself.
So again, this building was used a couple of weeks ago. Did you get rent on that for cleanup?
You would have to be more specific, Mr. LeBeau, and I don't know that we can, as Mr. Stokes said, we can discuss specific use.
I'll bring it back next month and the specifics.
So just for clarity's sake, the procedures are out there for renting the press building. She also mentioned if things are not done properly, that is taken care of by management. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions concerning agenda item number 7? All right, let us pause now for our annual meeting. It's supposed to start at 7. We're about 30 seconds over, but it'll be okay. I don't think nobody's going to run us out of here. Let me have a roll call, please.
Lily Raymond. Kayla Jacobs. Here. Jerry LeBeau.
Here.
Daryl Anderson.
Here.
Morris Albright.
Here.
Ingrid Holmes. Here. Melvin Gitwood. You have a quorum, President.
Thank you. All right. So at this time, we're going to declare everything vacant and refill those items that we need. So agenda item number 1, review, discuss, consider the approval of the selection of the president of the board of directors of the corporation. May I have a motion to do that? And then I need a nomination.
So moved.
Nomination.
I'd like to nominate Daryl Anderson.
Any other nominations?
Yes, I'd like to nominate Ms. Jacobs.
I would like to decline the nomination.
Any other nominations? All in favor of Daryl Anderson for president?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 2, review and discuss and consider approval of the selection of the vice president of the board of directors of the corporation. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
It's been moved and second. May I have any nominations for vice president?
Nominate Ingrid Holmes.
Now, Ms. Holmes' nomination. Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 3, review and discuss, consider approval for the selection of the secretary of the board of directors of the corporation. May I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and second. May I have any nominations?
Ms. Kayla Jacobs, please.
Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Agenda item number 4, review and discussion, consideration, approval of the selection of the treasurer of the board of directors of the corporation. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Okay.
It's been moved and second. Nominations.
I nominate Dr. Getwood.
Any other nominations? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you all so much. Let's move back to our regular meeting. Agenda item number 8, review, discuss, and possible action regarding agenda and backup documentation received in a timely manner, requested by Director Raymond. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Director Raymond.
I'm very possible when we have our meetings on Monday, and it's something that I've discussed in the past. Give us time as directors, because we're not getting paid for the job. So on Saturday and Sunday, we really have our own time to do what we want to do regarding family, what have you. So it'd be befitting if we can get the information like we did this time, at least 2 days in advance, at least by Thursday, with all backup documentation like this time is perfect. Thank you so much for Mr. Stokes and his team for making sure that that happened. So again, we can continue that. I would greatly appreciate it. If we can get all information no later than Wednesday, be good, but no later than Thursday, be very appreciative. That's all I have on that matter.
Any other discussion on that? All right, thank you, Director Raymond. So, agenda item number 9, discussion and possible action on renting the bistro space in the press building, requested by Director Albright. May I have a motion, please?
Moved.
It's been moved and second. Director Albright.
Yes. Last time we discussed this, there was talk of having to go out for an RFP. And talking with our attorney, Zeke, Mr. Zeke, he said that we're not required to RFP to lease this restaurant space.
I'm not sure of the discussion exactly that was had with Mr. Attorney Zach. When we spoke about an RFP, it was to basically offer a kitchen incubator there, so we would have to request proposals for somebody to run a kitchen incubator, because there is programming involved with that. So someone would have to run it for us, in which case we would go out for proposals for that. If you are speaking of just leasing it out, straight out as a commercial kitchen to a restaurant, perhaps, that does not require an RFP.
All right, let me ask you this, just for a future agenda item. Would it be easier, because I would just like to get it over with, to vote it up or down if we're going to incubate, or just rent this space out?
I would say yes, but I would defer that over to Mr. Stokes.
Would be at the pleasure of the Board of Directors.
Thank you.
I have a question, Mr. Stokes. It's pretty obvious that I think the incubator was probably like a priority, it was preferred, rather. Is that still where you stand? You'd prefer for it to be an incubator over leasing it out?
I prefer for the facility to be tied to the federal grant that we received from the Economic Development Administration, which within it was stipulated that it would serve as a business incubator for the community. We certainly can apply if the board wants to go in a different direction. We can certainly apply to the Department of Commerce to change that language. At the end of the day, it's up to them to decide to do that or not do that. So that's one part of the answer. In terms of my recommendation, in terms of the need to provide folks, especially in this community, with the opportunity to provide long-term wealth for their stability of their families, all indications, all research shows that entrepreneurship is the leading way to do that in this country as of right now. And so therefore, it being an entrepreneurship center is still my desire.
Thank you. So, excuse me. So to me, it sounds like, and maybe I'm the only one that didn't understand that there were further implications, right, to trying to change the intended use of that space
We would have to apply to the U.S. Department of Commerce to make that change. They can always deny it and make us stick to the original plan.
And then my other question, and maybe for you, Ms. Muller, it would be is there any status of the current initiatives maybe, or the current progress that's been made with the incubator for the restaurant?
As far as a kitchen incubator, no. We are focused right now on the business incubator side of it, the small business incubator. I have tossed around thoughts of having a ghost kitchen or maybe a temporary short-term lease for the kitchen area until we launch a kitchen incubator, which would be down the line. So we do not actually have a kitchen incubator in the works, which is why at that point, when we do get there, we would have to request proposals to have an expert come in and help us set that up.
Any other questions on that agenda item? All right. With there being no closed session, future agenda item requests?
To put on figure out how to word this. Discussion and possible action on whether or not to do a business incubator with the restaurant space in the press building.
Anything else?
We mentioned earlier about the security issue, and just to have a report on security and security measures as it relates to having a financial institution in a facility. And I'd like to see that come from someone who is in law enforcement who can explain that.
Any other items?
I have one, shaking something up out of the grave here, but I don't want to use the word strategic plan because it's kind of been beat dead, but maybe if not a super detailed strategic plan, maybe we can discuss potential timeline for at least a list of goals for the corporation for the year 2025. Yes, that's what I would like to add.
Any other items?
Specifically, Ms. Jacobs, are you saying from the staff? The goals from the staff?
The goals from the staff,
Including what we're going to
particularly.
do with the incubator and what we're going to do with the other facilities and the other things that we've kind of tossed around and we've not come to any finality on that.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
I would like for it to be SMART, okay? Specific, measurable, attainable. What's our?
And there's a T.
T is timely or time bound. We would like to time bind some of these things that have been tossed around. And I'm just gonna say a little tidbit here. It's just easier to know what's going on and trust what's going on. We use the word transparency. So if we have something to measure against, right, that will help to create more of the transparency that we're looking for, and for us to have a measuring stick by which we can say we did progress because we achieved X, Y, and Z. So.
Anyone else? With that, I'll accept a motion to adjourn. All in favor? All right, nobody want to talk about that one. All right, we'll see y'all on next month. Thank you so much for your time and consideration on today.